Yeah, you want to give me an overview of what's going on in this script here?
Yes. So as you can see here on my right hand side, like I have sort of the outline of my document, and I have a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of sections, and I built this as I was kind of working through this project over the last 6 months. And so it's kind of gotten out of hand, and you can kind of see here, I've tried to start trying to make some sense by adding these numbers to here so I know exactly where am I, but have not
Hmm.
completed that at all. You can see here that I have there's like a main section. Let me just load the packages that I'm using first. Um, yeah, as you can see, I have a lot of data. Like I'm loading data from SurveyMonkey. We have a pre and post core survey, and
Hmm.
then we have Zoom polls that we generate every meeting. And so I'm loading those polls as well. There's registration data. We use something called the Padlet, which is more of
Oh
like a
yeah, I know.
qualitative. People can can add comments. I haven't really done much a lot there because we don't get a lot of information from that, and it's pretty easy for me to just kind of look through things online.
Yep.
Um, so I have that. I have attendance data as well that we download from Zoom. Um, and so that's kind of like where I load a lot of this stuff. I
Hmm.
try to clean it as much as possible because we have a lot of duplicates, especially with Zoom. If I were to log off right now and then log back in, I probably would appear as two Alberto Espinozas rather than just
Mm.
one. If
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
renames themselves, that's
yeah,
also
yeah.
an issue. So there's a lot of manual cleaning that has to happen.
Yep.
Um, and so I'm doing that, and then I go into like, okay, how do I prep all of this data? So I have some prep there, and then probably a mistake that I did, but I just jumped into analyzing it without
Hmm.
creating like a separate script or anything. So everything that I'm doing here, from like the loading to cleaning some of the data to then the final sort of like a full data set,
Yep.
um, is all happening in this one script.
Yeah.
Um, I'm doing visualizations, just simple bar charts, stuff like that on the script. And so that's kind of what I'm kind of struggling with right now. It's gotten out of hand, and
Yeah.
we're about to start this project in January again. And so I am going to reuse a lot of this stuff because it's pretty practically the same course that we're going to be implementing starting January. And so I want to make sure that I'm ready to do that, and that I kind of have a better system going on, I guess. And I don't I don't have to do a lot of the redo a lot of this work
Yeah, yeah. That makes
in
sense.
the future. So
Cool. Um, well, let me tell you my like overall approach to this and different people. I mean, the answer here is like there isn't one ideal solution. It's all, different approaches. So I'm going to explain my approach, which I think works pretty decently. But it's not like gospel or anything. So what I tend to do is I will have a data cleaning script in R, basically what you have here. I'd say the difference is I don't do any kind of like visualization or analysis in this script. So really all I'm doing is just like importing my data, cleaning it, tidying it, and then I saw you actually had at the bottom a section like save files. I don't know how you exactly you were doing that. Oh, so it looks like you're writing Excel spreadsheets. Okay. Um, yeah, so what I will do when I save my files is I will then save them as RDS files. Are you familiar with RDS files?
yes.
So I'll put them as RDS files. And in fact, you know what? Let me actually put my screen up for a second
Okay.
to show you what this looks like. This was a thing for R in 3 months. So the way I structure, first of all, is I just put a data raw, which I saw you had a slightly different structure, but same idea.
Uh,
Um, and then I do a data folder. So the data raw has my, like all the CSVs or Excels or whatever. And then the data just has, that's where I spit out all my RDS files. And so within data raw, I have my import data file, which is, your data cleaning files, like same thing. Um, and so what I was showing people, like if um, let me just run, I just made some fake data. So read CSV, data raw, just read like one of these. So I just made, pretending this is like a survey that has like respondent ID, location, some kind of like pre-survey question, post question, pre-post, a couple satisfaction questions, and then like a select all that apply, like what was your favorite part of the training? Like imagine this is a training kind of similar to what you're doing. So then all I'm doing, I was actually showing people how to like read in multiple CSV files and bind them together. So I'll just show you one just so you can get a sense. Like I make a vector here of all the CSV files using this function, the dirls function from the fs package. And I recognize this may not, like you don't necessarily have like multiple spreadsheets that are basically identical structure that you need to all read in, but just to show you how this works. And so then I just made a function to like import the demographics data because when I look at this, like I want to tidy it. And one issue is that this favorite parts data is not tidy because it's got like video, someone could say that they have two favorite parts, right? Like their favorite
right.
parts was videos and practical exercises. So like if we want this at the level of like what their favorite part was, we need each response on its own row. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to make different things for different pieces of this survey. And so first I'm going to make a demographics data data frame. So import demographics data, it selects a couple columns, separates wider, basically separates out like city and state, and then adds a survey year variable. Basically, it takes the name of the CSV file and like strips out everything aside from the year. So like
Mhm.
import demographics data, data raw, that. So like if I run that, that's what I end up with. Respondent ID, city, state, and survey year. And then this just shows them how to like do it for all of the CSV files. It basically binds them all together and I end up with one giant data frame that's demographics data for all the years. And so then for you, like what the most important thing is here, I'm then saving this as an RDS file. So I'm doing demographics data, write RDS to the data, and then demographics data.rds. So, that's how I put this in here. And then I really did the same thing for all other pieces. So like, import favorite parts data. Okay, well then I make a favorite parts data frame. And you can see, now it's tidy, right? Because it's got each row for the favorite part. And then I write that. Same thing with the pre-post data. I tidy that. So I've got respondent ID, timing, question number, value, survey year, etc. Write that. Same thing with the satisfaction data. Respondent ID, question number, value, survey year. And then I write all that. Does that all make sense? I mean, again, I know it's a little different than the structure of your data, but hopefully that all makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I remember seeing this like the writing as an RDS in one of your courses,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've done it in other like in other projects that I've done. And especially for the pre and post core survey, so I'm using the SurveyMonkey API uh,
Yeah, yeah.
package. And so what I've noticed is um, every time I run that, it's kind of pulling it right
Right.
from the API from the website or whatever. And so I that's one of the things that I was thinking about doing was because it does take some time to load the responses. So I'm thinking, okay, I should just load them once. Now that I'm going to start my analysis and we've closed the survey, and then just save that data frame as an RDS. That way I
Yeah,
don't
I
have
mean, if you're
to.
not getting any new data, then yeah, absolutely. And that's the value of having your data cleaning like in its own R script file. So like if I know that there's no new data, I don't need to even touch this file. Um, like I can just go into working directly with these RDS files. In fact, that's sort of a good segue to like how I then do this. So yeah, again, you're right. This is exactly what I show like in the it's the Going Deeper with R course. And also actually one other thing to clarify, the reason I like to save as RDS files rather than CSV or Excel is if you do anything where um I don't know, let's say, for example, you wanted to save this survey year, right? Like right now it's just numeric. Let's say you wanted to save it as a factor or character or some other data structure, like data type. If you save it as a CSV and read it back in, it's almost certainly going to be read back in as numeric because it is just numbers. Whereas if you save as an RDS, that kind of metadata, like what type is this variable, will be saved and will be loaded again. So an advantage of saving as RDS.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah. So here, like then what I have is like a separate, for me, the way my brain works, and again, this is not gospel, this is just the way David Kai's brain works. Um, I like doing data cleaning and tidying in an R script file. And then I like doing any kind of like reporting or even like exploratory analysis, because it looked like you had basically like exploratory analysis in your R script file. I like doing that in a separate, like in a Quarto or R Markdown document. Um, so, um, I was just demonstrating this yesterday for people in the R in 3 months program. I just made a Quarto document. Do you use Quarto or R Markdown out of curiosity?
R Markdown, but it's rare when I
You
use
can,
it.
okay. So you can see
Yeah.
if you've never used Quarto, it's going to look almost exactly the same. There are a few small differences, but hopefully you'll be able, I mean, I think you'll be able to understand what's going on. So I load my packages here. Have you ever used the source function? Does that mean
I'm
anything to
not
you?
sure.
So what the
Doesn't
source
sound
function
familiar.
does is it allows you to run another script. And so right now you can see this is commented out. But if I uncomment this, and run this, say, what it will actually do is it's actually just running, comment that, it's actually just running this import data.r. And so you can specify like, do I want, when I run this Quarto document or R Markdown, even for example, if I hit render or knit in our Markdown speak, like, do I want to update the data? Because this will run before everything else down below runs. And you can see in the
Right.
next code chunk here, I'm importing my data. And so again, like for you importing from SurveyMonkey, say, it's if you have your like data cleaning script, this will allow you to, update the data if you want to. If you have it uncommented or if you comment it, then it will not run it. And so like you can just like play around with it, to make sure that you have everything working. And then when you actually want to, if you do want to render it, say you just uncomment it to make sure you're working with the newest data.
Okay, got it. And so that function can be used for or with the SurveyMonkey package.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
all I'm doing here is I'm telling Quarto, hey, before you do anything else, run this R script file. And so then you just need to look at the R script file and see what does it do. Well, what it does is it spits out a bunch of RDS files. So as long as your import data or data cleaning script file spits out RDS files, then yeah, if you
Mhm.
run that line, it will just give you the newest RDS files that, in your case, will get pulled from SurveyMonkey, say, and then,
Yeah.
clean, tidied, spit out as RDS files. So yeah,
Oh, nice. Okay.
yep. So here I just import my data. And in fact, let me restart my session just to show you. So I don't have now anything. I have no objects here. Like I'm starting from scratch. So if I just run everything down to this point, and then I'll go ahead and run this, you can see it now, creates these data frames for me. So demographics data, favorite parts data. I mean, it's exactly what we saw before. But the advantage is you don't have to rerun that entire script because the cleaning script, because you already know, okay, I've got my data, cleaned and tidied, and at this point I can just read it in. And so here, for example, like then I was just like showing people how you would like do a little reporting with it. So I'm saying like take my demographics data. I'm using the GT package, which is a package to make tables. And this opt interactive makes, actually, let me just do one thing. Let me run that again. Have it display here because I think it's easier to see. So it just makes a table here and it makes it interactive. So, now I'm basically just displaying this demographics data here in a table. But then also, so imagine I have that like favorite parts data. And, say I want to in some way like also show it by city. Well, I don't have that city piece attached to it in the favorite parts data frame, but I do have it in that demographics data.
Right.
And I have this respondent ID that I can use to join. So I just do left join with demographics data, joining by respondent ID and survey year. So just to show you, like if I run there, now I've got respondent ID, favorite part, survey year, city, and state. And so now I can do, for example, like if I want to see like the most popular thing by, city, I can just do a count city and favorite part, and I see those responses. And again, like I could pipe that into a table, say. And so for me, like that way of kind of breaking things into multiple pieces, you can see how it's like a lot more code here in my importing.
Yeah.
But once I have the data imported, then the reporting becomes a lot simpler. And I'm using reporting like very broadly. I mean, this could be like exploratory data analysis or like a formal report. Because I think the problem that I see, and this is something that I did too, when I didn't import my data beforehand, I would then end up doing the analysis and I'd be like, oh, wait, I need to reshape my data. I'm going to go back and like do that. And it's this constant like back and forth. Whereas here, if I spend a bunch of time up front getting my data cleaned and tidied, then I can spend so much less time on the analysis and that becomes like way, way, way more efficient. And that's separate from the like, I mean, that's just, separate from like how I structure it, which is, have a data folder and a data raw. That's just about like separating out the process of importing your data from the process of analyzing or reporting on it.
Yeah.
Does that all make
Yeah,
sense?
that make yeah, it makes sense. And that I think that's one of the challenges that I've faced is, I load my data and then I'm starting to do some analysis on it and I realize like I need to do something to this particular column, right? Because it's not
Right.
in the correct shape or whatever. So I have to go back to where I loaded the data and work with that a little bit more. And it does get kind of, and I think that's why I feel overwhelmed because there's a lot of going back and forth to like, where did I load this particular data for
Totally.
session 3, right? And then let me go back to over here where I'm doing the analysis. And so that kind of has been a challenge. But I see the benefits of just focusing on loading my data and cleaning it here and like just preparing it for analysis, saving as RDS, and then using a separate script or a separate file to like
Yeah,
do more of the analysis or visualization even.
I think that's right. Like separating it out, just it's a lot easier because then you're like, now I'm working on the data cleaning, now I'm working on the analysis and reporting, not trying to go back and forth between those, definitely for the way my brain works gets overwhelming.